Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's session. It is July 1st, the start of a new fiscal year, a new month, new summer month of vacations likely for folks and holidays coming up. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll be getting started here in just about a minute or so. We had almost 60 people register for today's event, so we'll be getting started shortly. I recognize many of your names that are showing on screen here. Welcome to you all. I invite you to introduce yourself in chat. And if you're not familiar with WebEx, there is a small button. If you wiggle your mouse toward the bottom of the toolbar, that'll look like a little chat bubble. And if you could please open that chat pane, we'll be using it today. And I invite you to introduce yourself. Tell us your name, what organization or community you're with, and let us know where in the state you are. We do have folks joining us from across the state. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready, and I'm going to start our recording. Oh, somebody already did. Excellent. All right, so go ahead and introduce yourselves in chat. I see we have about 17 folks. Thank you so much, Tracy. Good to have you joining us from Norfolk. I hope it's a beautiful morning up there as it is down here in Lincoln today. Good to see you. It is right at 10 o'clock. We'll be getting started in about 1 minute. We'll give folks just one more minute or so to hop into today's call. Thank you all so very much for joining us for our session today. So we'll be getting started very shortly. Let's see here. Zach, good morning. Also from Norfolk. Carla from CNED, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Karen from Fairmont. Ooh, I need help on a map. If I threw a dart, I might not hit Fairmont. But that's wonderful that you're joining us today. Thank you. Nikki from Cozad. Oh, we have good friends from Cozad. Nikki, thank you for being here. Lori, welcome. Good morning from Holdridge. And Bess from Simcoe in Sioux City. Crystal from CNED, Mary from Peru. Everyone, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and honor our time today and go ahead and get started. So I'm going to shrink my window down because we don't want those notifications to keep popping up on screen. Everyone, welcome and good morning. Thank you for joining us today. It is Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, and we are here to launch for you our brand new PSR process or Project Status Report. Now, you might hear them referred to as Progress Status Report. We kind of use those terms interchangeably. We are going to get started today and debut for you what will become the new way that we do our semi-annual reporting. So we'll get started first. My name is Angie Taylor, and I'm just going to do some brief introductions. I work with the Department of Economic Development's CDBG team, and I work in the Lincoln office. I do invite you to continue interacting in chat, where I did just put a link for you that will direct you to the DED's CDBG page. So everything we're going to be talking about today is either in Amplifund, which is our grant management system, or it'll be available on the CDBG page. So that'll be, two great places you can go for reference. So continue to use chat. I'm going to do my very best to watch for questions as they pop up. If I miss them in the moment, don't worry, we will get to them by the end of the session. I'm also available and happy to have you reach out anytime. So the format and purpose for today is just to bring us all together and offer an extra learning opportunity. And in this case, we're sharing brand new information with you that's never been shared before, because this is, of course, the launch of a new process, and we want to give you a place where you can hear it all together, maybe with your teammates or other folks with whom you work. And then we also want to be able to have you have a place to ask questions. So we'll make time for that at the end. We're going to have about a 35-minute presentation. We have a lot of material to cover. We hope about the last 5 minutes will be available for connecting with one another and getting to see the other certified grant administrators across the state, if time allows. And of course, this recording will be shared after this event. It'll be posted on our CDBG page, the link to which I sent you in chat, probably within the next 24 to 48 hours. Okay? So this is the third in a series of three CDBG Connect calls. We've done one kind of every quarter. The first one was talking about early steps for how you develop an improvement plan and get ready to consider applying for a project. So step one was to define the community's big picture needs, summarize the need, and then identify resources. If you missed that session and you think it might be helpful for you, of course, the link to that recording is posted with all the other recordings on that CDBG main page. Our second session last quarter was titled How to Submit a Great Grant, and we talked about how to apply, score, and then how the award process works. So if you're coming up new, maybe on this, maybe you're a newer teammate, you haven't been through this cycle before, that might be a helpful session for you to go back and rewatch as well. But of course, by the way, let me just show you, this is that CDBG main page. At the top is what we call a breadcrumb. So while I sent you the direct link to the page, this would be how you could navigate. So if you're on the DED homepage, you would click programs and then you'd click community and then CDBG. So not rocket science, but I just want to point that out, that all of our pages have that breadcrumb on the top. And then many of you found the event posted here on our page. Future events will be coming soon, so keep your eyes peeled for upcoming certified administrator training coming in October of this year. And then recordings, of course, to our sessions are posted in a separate box here on that page. All right, so where are we today? Well, it is July 1st. The CDBG applications open today. And what we have here is just a snapshot of the different CDBG funding opportunities that are impacted by the changes that happened today. So I just want to point out that this new PSR process, if you're someone who files paperwork for multiple different grants and multiple different programs, what we talk about today is literally only for CDBG and not anyone else. So the programs that are on screen here will be impacted, but no others through DED. I also want to point out while we're on this screen, if you haven't found this chart, by the way, it's a handy dandy nifty little thing to print and keep at your desk, especially if you're getting ready to fill out an application now starting this July 1st window. We put in the I don't know why I can't get those pop-ups to stop. We have put here the national objectives for each and tried to make this a really holistic table for you. It is in the application guidelines document that's available on the website, and you can pull this up. It's about page 3, so that's a handy tool to have. Okay, Audrey, thank you for mentioning that the audio seems to be an issue. We have a lot of activity around us this morning, and so I think it might be the folks talking in the background, and I apologize about that. Hopefully it will resolve here shortly as we get underway. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right, so today's objectives. First, we're going to go through the fundamentals of PSR process and the timeline about why this happened. Then we're going to talk about why the process changed and the key points that you need to know to be successful. This is not going to be a hard transition at all. And as long as you knew where to look and how to get started, you would adopt this new process fairly easily. And I think you're really going to like this new method, which we hope will be a lot easier, maybe than the way that you've done it before. We're going to talk about first what's not changing and then contrast that to what is changing. And then I'm going to give you an overview of how that new PSR process looks. It's going to be very similar to what you've seen before with a couple minor tweaks. This, again, the session's being recorded. You can always go back and view it later, but this just is kind of one comprehensive training package all in one delivery vehicle. I'll be offering a quick demo of the online forms and then telling you how to get help. And just remember, questions and answers are welcome anytime, not just right here, right now in this session or at the end. Ask them anytime. All of your CDBG program apps are happy to help you anytime. But remember, if it has to do with PSRs, that's kind of an Angie Taylor bucket. So don't be shy about reaching out to me. All right, so fundamentals of this new process. Let's talk about it. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, it affects only CDBG projects, not Any other projects that you might be reporting on, just downtown revitalization, economic development, planning, public works facilities, public works infrastructure, and tourism development. Next, I want you to understand that this session is not about how to complete the form. It's not about the nitty-gritty, behind the scenes, get in the weeds, how to gather all the data and do all that, because you guys are the experts at that. The reporting requirements have not changed. We're not like throwing you a monkey wrench curveball or anything like that. This session is how to use the new form and how the process is going to be streamlined, I think, in your seat, and your experience will be hopefully a little easier and a little faster and a little more simple. And so that, we're going to be talking about the process changes, not about how to do that, if that makes sense. So, as I mentioned earlier, we believe this change is going to be largely self-explanatory. And there are going to be a couple slides coming up where I'll be like, if you have your smartphone, take a picture of this slide because it's really important to getting you started off on the right foot. But once you get started, I think you're going to be very successful in this new environment. So our goal is to ensure your success and a smooth transition. And please know we invite your feedback. This new way of doing things is something that we started thinking about how to do years ago. We've been working on this project for months, and we invite your feedback. So if there's something you see or experience that would help improve, for everyone, please don't be shy about reaching out. That's what we're trying to do, is to make this PSR reporting process a little easier. So just a quick reminder about the timeline about PSRs. Remember that CDBG projects have that mandatory semi-annual reporting requirement for all active CDBG projects. So think about that for a moment. What do you mean by active? Okay, that means that they have project activity happening, and and you'll notice here it says the first PSR should be completed when at least 6 months of project activity are complete. So, if you just signed a release of funds, you might not have anything right now for those 2024 projects that are just coming online, and we understand that. But after 6 months of activity, then those semi-annual reports kick in, and you'll notice we have two main timeframes. Those, again, have not changed. January 1st to June 30th, ending yesterday. That activity reporting is due within 30 days by July 30th. So that's the first reporting period of the year. Then we have a second reporting period that stretches from July 1st to December 31st, which is due within 30 days by January 30th. Okay. I will also mention that there has been, for some people, a confusion a little bit about when to file a final PSR. Okay. That can be done anytime. You don't have to wait for one of these little windows to open or close. You can do that anytime. You'll want to do it as soon as your project's national objectives have been met or when your agreement has ended. So don't delay. These forms are available 24/7 online, and every time you submit one, we get pinged on our end to say that it's arrived. Then we can get started with the monitoring and closeout process. So don't wait on those final PSRs. So today is when we move to the new process. So I want you to think about this for just a minute, because I think it's helpful to understand, I don't want anybody feeling like they're standing on jello with wobbly legs going into this. I want you to feel really solid. Today, July 1st, opens the new reporting window for the activity that ended and stretched from January through June. Okay, so we're really reporting on the first half of this year, which really means that the activity that's going to remain in Amplifund with the old way ended 12/31. If you want to think about it, the cutoff was the end of last year, 2024. Reports for things going forward, starting basically January 1st, which is going to be starting to be reported on now, all of that's going to be in this new process window. Okay, so just a quick bit about why is this process changing? Well, first of all, we want to be adaptable because sometimes reporting requirements may change. Over time, this allows us to tweak questions in live time and be able to collect the data we need. Secondly, we know that the old process had a few challenges. We went into the system a number of years ago. It didn't ever quite really work exactly the way we wanted. So we were able to build a new solution outside of Amplifund from scratch. And so we hope this is going to be a little bit easier. We do believe it's going to collect much better data, and it's going to be kind of an easier way for folks on your team who are reporting to submit those numbers. So we sought peer feedback for how should this new iteration look? What can we do to improve it? And we didn't do all of the bells and whistles we had hoped for. There was no single solution that let us do all of the great changes we wanted to make, but we do think it's a good improvement. So we're going to go through that with you here in a moment. This new process we think will be simpler, it'll be more efficient, and it's done outside of Amplifund, as I mentioned. It basically involves clicking a link to jump to an online form from the grant record that's technically built in Microsoft Forms. If you've ever worked in Google Docs or Microsoft Forms, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's going to take you through question by question by question and ask you questions about your project. And once you enter the information about that project, it's going to step you through the exact questions you need to answer, and it's going to skip over ones you don't even have to look and worry about. Okay, so each project is unique and each project has required sections. And if you answer those questions correctly, you're going to just have to answer the little bits that apply to you. Gone are the days of having to go to custom forms and open this custom form and submit it and then open the next custom form. Some of those reports had 3, 4, 5 different forms to complete. It won't be like that anymore. It's going to be all one long form, and it'll allow us to collect better data and offer more accurate reporting to our partners at HUD. All right, I don't see any questions, but remember, open that chat pane and go ahead and submit them if you do have anything. Just know we're happy to keep our eyes on that. So this new PSR form, as I mentioned, is one long form. We are also introducing a second new form at this time for Meeby Weeby. Okay, so if you aren't familiar with all of our lingo, Meeby Weeby stands for Minority Business Enterprise and Women-Owned Business Enterprise. That's a form that gets completed every time a contract or a professional service agreement is signed. Okay, that's also going online and will no longer be done in custom forms. And peace of mind, you actually aren't going to be able to accidentally file it in the wrong place. Those old custom forms are going to be archived, so you won't be able to submit anything new. It's hopefully set up to be as easy and adoptable as possible. So we're in essence talking about 2 brand new forms and a new secret pocket tucked on CDBG grant award records. Now, this secret pocket is only tucked right now onto about 78 records for which we are expecting reporting to be happening. What that means is if you go to a CDBG record and this secret pocket doesn't appear, well, good news, you don't have to file a PSR report for it because it's probably already in monitoring and closeout or has been closed out and the certificate of completion issued. So this new area is just visible on those records that we are expecting a report for every 6 months. Now, if there is one piece that you listen to, because I've started to sound like Charlie Brown's Snoopy's teacher, wah, 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 wah. This sentence in orange, perk your ears up for. It is very important. You must answer the questions correctly in order to be branched through this long form and jumped to the right sections. This isn't hard, it's not rocket science, but because you're coming into a new process, the first time or two you go through this, it'll probably take you a little bit longer. We know that because you're just getting used to it. But you know what? Once you get the hang of it and you figure out where to look in Amplifund to find the information you need to answer the questions correctly, bada boom, bada bing. it's going to be like gravy. Okay, so we're going to show you all of that. So stay tuned, it's coming. We have new support resources to support you both in Amplifund and on the CDBG page. So we're going to debut that here in a moment. All right, nobody loves change. So if you're a person that doesn't love change, this slide is for you. What's not changing? Well, we just said the reporting periods are consistent. January through June, July through December, easy. Next, I mentioned earlier that reporting requirements are also not changing. We're not asking you for any information that's going to be a curveball out of left field. It's going to be the same information we're asking for, but it might feel like we're asking for different information. So, for example, those of you that have worked with downtown revitalization might remember that one of the questions you're asked on the input form is how many of the businesses are new and how many are existing. One of the great benefits of this new tool is that we were able to add in a lot of on-screen support and help tips to help you understand what is it that we are really asking for. And there's been a lot of historical confusion around what is a new business. It might surprise you to learn that a new business in HUD's definition is not a new downtown business that just during the last reporting period got benefits for the first time last period. Instead, a new business is one that was created as a direct result of the project activities, which means probably most of the time you're going to be reporting on existing businesses. These are all things that are going to be made so much easier and more accurate because they're going to be right there on screen when you go through the process. Another example is in planning. This is going to feel a little weird for you guys that use LMA or low and moderate on an area basis. You're going to love this because when you go to file a planning PSR that happens to be based on LMA, it's like 2 questions because we know that your beneficiaries and counts aren't going to be reported until the last reporting period of your project. So we skip over all of that. Okay, so I think you're going to really like this getting in there. So if it feels unusual, don't worry. It's trying to help build a better experience for all of us. So where do you begin? The same place you always started. You navigate to the CDBG grant award record in Amplifund. That hasn't changed. Okay, but as I mentioned earlier, there is a new area on those active awards that I'm going to show you here in a minute. And there are only 78 of those records for this current reporting period that we're expecting reports to come in on. So not all CDBG projects have that, only the ones for which we're waiting for responses. All right, no questions so far, so I'm going to keep going. All right, so what is changing? Well, everything that you need to know is going to be linked in that new section, that CDBG specific section on those grant award records. It's all going to be in one place for you. So I'm going to show you a screenshot here in a minute what that looks like, but you're going to have, of course, the link to the new forms. So there's going to be one link that takes you to the PSR form, one link that takes you to the MeeBee-Weebii form, and then there's going to be some other links that help support you that we'll talk about here in a minute and why you would use them. Again, remember to take care to answer the questions correctly. There is one question in particular, this national objective question, which happens to always be question number 9. It uses what's called branching logic. You don't need to know about that, but based on what you answer there, it's going to jump you to a different section in the form. So if you're not reporting on housing activity, it's going to bypass the entire section of housing and take you down to whatever you are reporting on. Okay, you're used to doing this all the time in other environments, and we're making your experience look more modern, just like you've done a million times before. So just know that question numbers will change. Don't panic. If you are a person that submits multiple reports for multiple projects, you might get 15 questions one time, and then for a different project, maybe you'll get 25 questions. That's to be expected because if you answer them correctly, it's going to ask you the different things we know we have to know for that specific unique project. So, as I mentioned, on-screen tips and support are going to be so much better and make it easier for you. And then we have been able to make some fields required. Okay. Other fields might be optional, but as you go through, you'll see if it has a little asterisk, of course, you know what that means. That means it's required. So the process is going to be a little different after the fact. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, but basically, as always, you'll submit it, then we'll review and approve it. There will be a little bit of a delay while I work through all of those incoming 78 that are going to be kind of barraging me all at once here. And then eventually, instead of reposting that final form response in Amplifund anywhere, there wasn't really a good place to tuck that or a way to do that. We're going to put all of these completed PDFs for all these individual projects into a share file folder. So if you've heard of that before, you probably helped with monitoring documents, and you've been involved with uploading and downloading bulk documents en masse, we have a public folder set up where you'll be able to go view all the historical ones moving forward, starting on this July 1st reporting period window opening. All right, so biggest changes, those historical PSRs, the old ones remain in Amplifund on those archived custom forms. You know where to find the old ones. That's not changing. New ones are going to be stored in ShareFile, and we'll show you how to get there and how to set that up. There is one big change that is different from before, and this is unfortunately one of those things that we can't do anything about. There is no way to save your progress and complete a form partially and save it as draft and then come back to it. That doesn't work. Okay. So what you'll do is you're going to gather all your information together so you know how to answer the questions, and then you'll sit down and submit it all. So it's not a working environment, it's a submitting environment. And that's kind of just a shift in how you think about it. So what we've done to support you is we have created mock-up PDFs that you'll be able to download in advance that walk you. They have all the questions and they have all of that branching logic. So you're like, okay, I know that if I answer the question and it's LMA, it's going to jump me to this section. So I'm going to be able to jump to that section and get all my answers and all my ducks in a row first, so that when I go to that online form, I can just enter the information and have it ready to submit. And those PDFs exist both for the PSR as well as for the MeeBee-Weebii report. So before those old, sometimes I'm a visual person, I appreciate a graphic, all of those previous PSRs that you submitted up through December 31st, those are all in Amplifund on custom forms. Now, after I review them and get them all reviewed and approved, then they'll be stored in ShareFile. And again, just to reiterate, for project activity that starts January 1st this year, that's starting to be reported July 1st, but if it's easier for you to think of it this way, it was for activity actually that ended, the last ending for what's in Amplifund was for December 31st. So the PSRs for MeeBee-Weebii will be archived, and then that means for those of you that help with application cycles, the only things that you're going to find in custom forms for CDBG moving forward are those special conditions. Okay, that's the only thing that's the same. So the overview. Step one, same as always, you're going to access the grant award record, and all the links and support you need are right there in one place. And I'll show you that in a minute. Step two is that you're going to kind of get all your information gathered together, whether you pull the PDF or you just have it at your fingertips. You're going to get your project and reporting criteria all in a line. Then you're going to go to the online form or forms, and you're going to use those tools that we're giving you to answer the questions. And then you'll submit it. And then once we approve it, it'll be stored in ShareFile for historical reasons. So step one, access the grant award record. Remember how I said there's a secret pocket? Well, this, my friends, is the slide you will want to grab your phone camera right now and take a picture of. If you are a visual person and you appreciate knowing exactly the one highlight you need to know from today, this is it. Grab your phone or take a screenshot, okay? You are going to go to a grant award record, and here at the top is the new section. It's under Post Award, Performance, and then you slide straight across to this brand new area called Scope Summary. Okay, now if you go through these steps and you load Scope Summary and it's blank, what do you think that means? Well, logic would tell you then that is a project that is not going to be reported on PSR wise in this new method. Okay, so we've only added it to those 78 records. So if this is blank, then you don't have any reporting you have to do on it. Okay, so I hope you got a chance to get a snip of that page. When you load the record, it's going to look something like this. This chart is arguably the single most important piece on the entire screen. And actually, it's going to move up here to the very top to make it easier for you to find it. We just, last I checked, they hadn't had that scooted up yet. Okay, so it tells you right here who the development district is, the project number for it, who the entity is. And then we've put into one place for you not only what the targets are, the goals, the proposed beneficiaries. In this case, for a CREAT DTR project, it's 8 businesses that they've qualified under slum and blight on an area basis. That's their national objective. That's what they're going to enter when they get to the form. They need to know this. Oh, SBA, that's important. I'm going to enter that when I get to the form. And then it will ask, what kind of a HUD matrix code or project activity other than construction management and general administration are you reporting on? Then it tells you whether or not this project is subject to sections 3 at 24 CFR part 75. Okay, that has to do with making projects accessible to people for greatest possible maximum deference, and then infrastructure project under BABA. Okay, and this will be another question that you have to answer. Is it subject to BABA? Yes, then it's going to take you through some other questions. Here on the whole page are all those links that I mentioned earlier. So for the progress status report, the link to the form is right here. Easy peasy. It's going to jump you out to a website where you're going to put in all the PSR information. Next, if you want to download that printable PDF sample, you'll click this hyperlink. Okay. Do note that that is possible, going to change by the next reporting period. If we have different questions, you'll probably want to download a new blank PDF at least once every reporting period to make sure you're working with the most accurate one. And it is dated with a version at the top so you can tell the difference between them. Next, when you're ready to view those past PSRs in ShareFile, there is a link to the ShareFile folder, and then there will be some additional instructions that unfortunately didn't make it into this screenshot right here, but it will tell you exactly how to do that. And I'm going to show you here in a minute how to do that. And then if you have a report that you need to file for MeeBeeWeeBee, all of those similar links appear down here below. So that's whenever a new agreement with a contractor or subcontractor is executed, you submit the form once per contract signed. Okay, you can read it here on screen. It's not rocket science. Kudos to Send, by the way. You guys had already submitted, I think, 5 MeeBeeWeeBee reports so far in the period from January through now. And I just want to let you know, I pulled those out of Amplifund and I moved them over into this new reporting process. You do not need to redo any work. Those were the only reports that happened to come in since last time, so that we have that really hard cutoff 12/31/24. Everything afterward is truly in the new system. All right, so this chart that I mentioned earlier, this one will be really important for you to keep track of. And remember that if an amendment happens, this information can change. So it's not like you can even look at it once and forget it forever. You'll probably want to refer to this every time, because if an amendment comes through and we've updated it, then you might have different answers for next time. So question number 9 is a key question on that PSR form. It looks like a lot of text on screen. Don't panic. You can read it on your own later. Okay. The whole reason I'm showing you this is as an example to give you the essence of why it's so important to choose the answer correctly. Okay, because based on that chart on the previous slide, you're going to know exactly which national objective it is, whether or not it's subject to Section 3, Part 75, or whether it does not apply. Okay, we put that all in Amplifund for you. And then here it shows you a preview. You're not going to know this, but if you choose this answer, it's going to jump you to section number 10. You don't have to know that. It's going to just weave you through this form based on how you answer. So question number 9, put a star by that. That is super important. Answer this correctly and you'll be on the right path for submitting for each unique project. Okay, I'm still watching for chats in the or questions in chat, and I don't see any, so keep thinking and percolating. So I'm going to continue on. So remember, those sample PDFs are available for download, and they show you exactly what the questions are, everything you'll see on screen, all the tips and everything. You can pull one PDF for the PSRs and a separate PDF for MeBWeB reporting. All right, so now we've talked a whole lot about it. I want to see, what does that form really look like and what are we talking about? So I hope you are seeing on my screen the form, and it's very simple. It says, okay, when you're ready, go ahead and click Start Now. And you'll see how modern this looks. This is the PSR information. It says, okay, enter the project information. Okay, so we said, well, on that other slide, we knew it was 24 DTR 001, and it was Crete. Okay, so what kind of project is this? Well, we said it was DTR. I think this is pretty easy. We know which one to choose. Okay, we click next, and now we're going to go through here and say, well, what period are we reporting on? Starting today, most of you are going to be reporting on this period, so it's built in as an option. Moving forward, of course, those options will change. Let's say you forgot and you have to squeak in a different one from a different period. Easy peasy, choose other, and then enter your date range. Maybe it was from July through December of 2024. You can make it be whatever period you need. All of these answers are going to come to us at DED and will be available exported on the final copy of this project's PSR. So then it's going to ask you a few questions. Is the project progressing? What are the accomplishments? So in a brief narrative, tell us what's happening, and if it's not going well, tell us kind of how it went sideways. Then it says, tell us about planned activities in the future. So I'm not going to spend time typing all this out. I'm just going to put in some information. You'll notice those are required. That little asterisk here is your visual cue that that information is required. And it says at the end of the previous reporting period, how many cumulative beneficiaries were part of this project? So for 24 DTR projects, they're just getting started. I'm going to guess there were 0 the time before. I'd look back at my notes and confirm. But if this is a 22 DTR project, maybe there were 4 beneficiaries up through now. Okay, so this is a way for you to verify coming into this period what was the amount. And now, what is the national objective for this project? This is that key question, number 9. We said SBA is the answer that we need because it told us that in Amplifund. Okay, so we click next, and you'll notice it jumps us to a section titled Businesses Assisted. And I'm not going to go through this entire form, but I want you to notice it jumped us here to question number 10, and we're going to keep answering. Okay, so DTR questions, there are going to be more questions maybe for a DTR project than there are for a planning project. Don't get hung up on how many questions you're asked, only that you're answering them correctly. Okay, and we even put tips in here. It tells you what you have to choose if it's a specific project. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It'll take you through screen by screen, and at the end you click submit, boom, done. Unfortunately, there's no way for you to get a copy of your immediate results. It has to do with a security setting that the state of Nebraska's computers have, so you will not get a copy of your responses until we review them and approve them and put them in ShareFile. Okay? So I'm still watching for questions here. The Meeby Weeby form, I'm just going to show you briefly. It is very fast. There's not a lot of questions for this one. It looks just like the other. You click Start Now, and you can go through and enter the project information, and it's the same as before, okay? And those also get stored in ShareFile. All right, so once they come into us, we will pull them one by one. We're going to review them and approve them, not in a Big Brother heavy-handed sort of way, but rather, did everything seem to get filled in correctly? Did we get all the information we need? Were there any errors, questions answered incorrectly, that kind of thing? Then there will be a little bit of a delay. To be honest, how long? I don't know. I hope this will be fairly easy and quick. But then after that delay, we'll put the files up in ShareFile, okay, so that all of them live there permanently afterwards. So ShareFile, here are those Amplifund instructions. These are going to be in Amplifund here shortly when they get their updates finalized. It tells you how to use ShareFile to view those past PSRs. So for the historical PSR starting this period, okay, with this date range, step 1 and one time only, it tells you right on screen that you have to create a free ShareFile account using any email address you want, and you'll choose a password. Okay, this is just you requesting any ShareFile account on the nebraska.gov ShareFile site. And then step 2, which you do one time only, you're going to click this link once you're logged in, because what that does is it links your ShareFile account with our shared file where all of our PSRs and MeeBeeWeeBee reports live, and it's going to link those two together. You do that once and it's not going to forget it. It's kind of like adding those shared folders to your profile. Once you do that once, it'll be available. Okay, you don't have to do that step ever again. And then on all future visits coming back after that first initial one, you'll just log in with that user name, which is your whatever email address you chose and your password. You'll log in there, and if you forgot your password, don't panic. You can also reset it at this link. This is all going to be in ShareFile for your support. So when you log into ShareFile, whoops, I got a little excited. When you log into ShareFile, the first place you go is this top left corner, and it might be under folders, or you're looking here for shared folders. Okay, that's what the DED is sharing with you. And then you're going to see one folder here that says CDBG reports. That's the folder that we just shared with you by that hyperlink. Then nested with inside that folder, we're going to have an organized system where it's going to be easy for you to find those folders. So first you'll go to the year, then to the reporting period, or was it a final during that reporting year? Then within each one of these reporting periods, we're going to have it organized by project or project type or funding opportunity. Okay, we'll have them all sorted for you and make it easy to find. A couple quick notes about LMJ things, and I know we're already up on time, and I do apologize. There's always so much to say here. Very quickly, not a lot of projects use LMJ, but if you do, there are just a couple minor changes. We have updated the baseline employee list to make it into a template that you can provide the employer when they provide you the export of their employees that shows them exactly what data we need as part of that export. We've also, with the help of our friends Lori Ferguson and Sharon Huffley, I hope I said her name right, she's a gem, they helped us, they provided the framework that we were able to use to build a brand new job creation and retention report. Again, this probably does not apply to most of you, so I'm going to go through it very high level. It is a self-calculating spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a minute. There's a little bit different process to submit the form, and if you have questions, probably that LMJ would either be a project with Tom Stevens, who's very well versed in this new project and help us test it out and get it perfected. Same with Nicole Bartles if you're doing a TD project that uses LMJ. So here is that new baseline employee list. This is what we're telling the business is all the information that we have to have on our report as part of that export, and then they have to put on this signature block. It's all in one place for you to use. And then for the new job creation retention report, as I mentioned, it's an Excel spreadsheet. Notice that it has 3 tabs at the bottom. From left to right, the instructions page tells you step by step how to do it. This center tab is titled Template, and it's so nifty. You fill it in, and as you fill it in, the yellow starts disappearing. But if there's yellow, that means, oh, you forgot to tell us something. It'll stay yellow until it's fixed. Then it's going to take all of the data you enter in all of these columns for all of these people, and it's going to aggregate it on that Summary Data tab, which is going to be the place that aggregates all the information for the whole project. It is nifty. Shout out here in DED's department to our colleague Cobb, who is an Excel wizard. He built this and it is amazing. So if you do LMJ, we think you're going to be so excited about this new tool. So you guys already had a chance to watch the demonstration. I'm going to mention how to get help. Well, as always, if you have program specific questions, reach out to your CDBG program representative. So for downtown revitalization, that's Gina Dews. For economic development, that's Tom Stevens. For planning, that's me. And for Public Works and Tourism Development, that's Nicole Bartles. And if you've been reading the chat, you'll notice that we have a new colleague coming online, Chelsea Eggenberger, who is brilliant and we love her, and she's going to be helping with Public Works projects. You'll get an introduction to her soon enough. And then, of course, if it has anything to do with these online forms about PSRs or Meeby Weeby, that is a question for me. That is a lot of information. So now I'm going to open it up for Q&A. If you have questions, please put it in chat. And I do ask that you go ahead and grab your smartphone right now because I have a specific ask for you here in about 30 seconds. So grab your smartphone, get your camera ready. Okay, and we're going to get finished up here. So I'm looking in chat. There are no questions. That always makes me a little nervous because I don't know if that means that people fell asleep or they just don't know enough to know what they don't know. When will this be live? Carla, thank you for asking. So Carla's not seeing it. It was supposed to be active yesterday. Carla, thank you for asking. I think it would be fair to say at this point that we're going to have to send out an email once this goes live. We had very much hoped it would be live for this morning, and when I checked, it wasn't, and I'm very sorry. So hang tight. It should be quite imminently in the next, I hope, day or two. I'm not sure. We've been working on this for months, so I'm not sure why it didn't get pushed out in time, but thank you for asking. It'll be very soon. Great question, Carla. Thank you. Other questions that we could answer for you? All right, I'm going to keep an eye on chat. So if you're typing furiously, go ahead and continue entering your questions there. So the CDBG application window, as I mentioned earlier, opens today for all our funding opportunities, and it closes September 15th for downtown revitalization, planning, and public works facilities, public works infrastructure. Of course, it's open cycle and through next June for both economic development and tourism development. So make sure you have that on your radar. Next is to remind you that CDBG certified administrator training, both for newly certified folks that need to go through training for the first time, as well as those who need to recertify because their refresher year has come up. The tentative dates are October 7th, 8th, and 9th in Lincoln at the Fallbrook office here in North Lincoln. There will be no Q4 CDBG Connect call because we're going to be holding ERR and special conditions calls in the late fall with awardees that get chosen after that September 15th deadline. So we kind of won't have another one of these calls for a little while at least. And then just remember the recordings and resources are available on the CDBG main page on the DED website. So this is why we asked you to grab your phone. This CDBG Connect evaluation is a QR code. If you can take a photo of that and spend just the next 2 or 3 minutes after we hang up providing feedback, we would be so grateful. We don't really have any feedback from anyone other than a couple really nice emails that told us we were doing a great job, which we always love, but we want to know how to make these sessions more relevant and beneficial to you. So please take some time and offer us your thoughts. We'll take it to heart and we'll be able to offer improved sessions for you going forward. So Carla, the application doesn't look like it's linked yet. I am so sorry. Um, I hadn't tested that this morning, and I was also told that would be up by today. So I will check on both those things for you. I will say that if you're applying for an economic development project, we know that'll be later this week, but the others really should be live by now. And I'm a little embarrassed to say I didn't know they weren't. So I will check on that, but I would assume that will be quite imminently today. Carla, thank you for asking. All right, so questions. Here's who you can get a hold of if you have additional needs. Jenny B. Mason is the head of our CDBG team. Nicole Bartles is the head of just our immediate CDBG team. Gina, Tom, and myself, and Chelsea is coming online soon. If you are not already receiving our DED mailing lists, make sure you take a picture of this second QR code and go online and you can sign up for any DED communications, including CDBG communications, which are part of there. All right. I am going to stay online. I'm going to go ahead and pause recording because I think that the formal session of this is done, and I'm going to hang tight. And if you have questions, please stay put and I will be glad to answer them. Otherwise, if you are going on about your day, thank you for investing this time this morning. I apologize, we ran a few minutes over. Hope this process will be better. Reach out with feedback. I wish you all the best for a wonderful summer ahead, a happy and safe 4th of July, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you, everyone. I'll stay on and answer questions next. Thank you.